Study Session 11. Reading Graphs, Charts, Tables, and Maps. Introduction. In this study session, you'll be taught how to read graphs, charts, and tables by giving you some hints. The style employed here is the questioning style to help you read the examples presented. By finding answers to the questions, you're reading the graphs, charts, and tables. The following are the types of graphs, charts, and tables this study session will be dealing with in this unit. Graphs: line graph, bar graph, pie graph, and pictorial graph. Charts: organizational chart and flow chart. And tables: simple tables. Let me stress from the onset that all graphic representations are basically comparisons. Learning outcomes. When you have studied this session, you should be able to 1. Read and interpret graphs. 2. Read and interpret charts. 3. Read and interpret tables. Reading graphs. In this unit, you'll be exposed to how you can read and interpret graphs such as line graph, bar graph, pie graph, and pictorial graph. A graph is an illustration that presents numerical data in a way that makes comparison possible. Relationships are identifiable on all types of graphs. You need to underscore that graphs, charts, and tables, including maps, all are used to show facts. Facts in dynamic relationship to other facts. You should regard all graphic presentations as reading situations that may be studied to see the basic comparisons therein. You should therefore read the caption of each graph carefully. Line and bar graphs. The line and bar graphs are two commonly used graphs. Line graph. An illustration of the line graph is given below. The line graph is considered the most precise graph used to plot trends or relationships between two series of data. While reading the graph in the example, you should note carefully the title or heading of the graph, the unit of measure represented on the Y and the X axis. Comparisons are easily made after studying the graph for a short time. Bar graph. A bar graph or chart is a graph with rectangular bars. Each bar's length or height is proportional to the bar's represented values. Another name for bar graph is histogram. Like the line graph, the bar graph usually presents two or more related bits of information using a singular chart for comparison. In the example below, note carefully horizontal and vertical scales. You are reading the graph as you provide answers to these questions. A. Which department has the highest registration? B. Which department has the lowest registration? Pie and pictorial graphs. Pie graph. The pie graph is used in all situations in which all information, 100%, is known and where the divisions are shown in relation to the whole. The pie graph below shows the methods of transportation to and from school by the students of a class. Each sector of the pie graph represents a method of transportation. Pictorial graph. The graph below is the pictogram in which the illustrations are appropriate to the facts being represented. The magnitude of the facts either by representing the symbol for the same number of standard units or by increasing the size of the symbol in proportion to the growth of the magnitude of the statistic. Read the graph below and answer the questions. Questions. 1. Which kind of vehicle is the least common? 2. Approximately how many bicycles were counted? 3. Approximately how many motorbikes were counted? Reading charts. In this unit, you'll be taught how to read and interpret charts such as organizational and flow charts. Unit outcomes. When you've studied this unit, you should be able to 1. Read and interpret charts. A chart at the foot of the patient's bed reveals to the doctor the relationship between the patient's temperature, his pulse, and respiration rates, the administration of his medication, and the hours between the doctor's visits. Imagine the space the same information contained on that patient's record would occupy if it were written in prose. Imagine how that much condensed information is easily read. Imagine how readily available the record becomes for the doctor to take necessary actions. That much information, as may be passed by an author to you, his reader, in all subject areas is often brushed aside or given cursory information. Their pictorial representations make reading easier. A chart is a systematic arrangement of facts in the form of symbols, shapes, pictures, or drawings. A chart may be used to show the relationship between the various parts and the whole. Organizational charts. Organizational charts show the structure of an organization and the relationship of one part of the organization to all other parts. Below is an organizational chart. Flow chart. The flow chart shows the steps in a process. It is an effective method of aiding recall of the steps necessary for completion of a task. The reader follows the direction in which action must proceed. The steps are normally linked by arrows. Reading tables. This unit will enable you to read and interpret tables, especially simples and maps. Tables contain the most detailed but concise form of information you may need to draw upon for decision making. Tables are used to present numerical data in tabular form. One set of information is presented on the horizontal and another on the vertical. The size of a table tells how detailed the factual information can be and different kinds of relationships that can be drawn from it. Some tables are very simple, while others are complex, such that they require special experience in reading them. Reading maps. Map reading requires a number of skills. You need to identify natural features such as rivers and lakes, land shapes such as continents and islands, man-made features such as railroads and highways. You also need to know the meaning of gulf, bay, earth, distance, scale, latitude, longitude, sphere, hole, equator, etc. You need to be able to read map symbols, political maps, maps depicting crops, rainfall, population, vegetation, wind belts, ocean routes, etc. In addition to the above, you need to learn the basic concepts of direction, north, south, east, west, and their numerous combinations, concepts of distance and of scale. Next, you should be able to recognize large land and water forms on the globe, as well as identify water, land, trees, and mountains by their color and other visual designations. You should also learn to locate continents, seas, oceans, and countries on the map. Reading maps requires first studying the title of the map. Second, study each symbol, legend. Third, note the directions on the map, then apply the map scales. Relate the area under study to a more general or larger area. Study session summary. This study session has taught you how to read and interpret graphs, charts, maps, and tables. End of study session 11. Thanks for listening.